Let's dive right in. Shuyin, a question for you, really. We co-authored an article on the missing middle that the World Economic Forum published earlier this week. And one of the things that we noted in that is that the health of Southeast Asia's economy really depends on how we finance the missing middle of small and growing businesses. Which new instruments and approaches are proving most effective in getting capital to where it creates the most value?
Thanks so much, Shubha. I mean, I really wish I had a pithy soundbite answer for you here, but unfortunately, I think the answer is a little bit more complicated, right? I mean, as we're talking about in our article, I mean, really, there's many missing middles, right? And I think each of them have very different founder profiles, different financing needs, and different business characteristics. So when some people talk about the missing middle, they're talking more about micro businesses, right, or livelihood-sustaining businesses. When I talk about the missing middle, I'm usually talking about, let's say, more traditional SMEs, right? So SMEs in the manufacturing, services, retail industry, family businesses who have grown their business over 5, 10, 15 years, and are, slowly but surely scaling up their business. And then, yet again, when some people are talking about the missing middle, they're talking more about startups, right? In the valley of death, those who are early stage, pre-product market fit, and looking to scale their enterprises. That's the challenge with the missing middle, and I fall into this trap all the time myself. There's not one missing middle, there's many missing middles, and there's so many people already working on different parts of the solution, right, and different access to finance pathways for these different missing middles. But it's a very fragmented market, right? So I think the question is, how do we join the dots better so that we can get the right capital to the enterprises at the right time on the right terms? And I think that's the challenge that really lies ahead.
So it really is, many missing middles, and I think that's really a big point. And with that, maybe I turn to you, Tony, because in the many missing middles, right, Fuse and Gcash are opening new doors for small businesses to get credit and scale. How do you think about expanding lending responsibly?
Well, in the Philippines, as it is with most ASEAN countries, a lot of formal businesses have little access to capital. In the Philippines, I think the number's around a fourth have access. So that's not to say, of course, the balance don't have financial needs. And that's a space where we or Gcash want to play a role in. And the way we want to do that is digitally and using technology. Now, you have to understand in the Philippines, currently there's no well-established credit bureau yet, as it is. And in the case of Fuse, we created a proprietary trust score, which we call G-score, which is in turn based on the MSME's footprint in the Gcash ecosystem. So we know Tony's store, for instance, I receive money on a regular basis from customers, I pay my bills, etc., right? So we create that and use data and technology to create those models, so we're able to make eligible MSMEs who otherwise won't have access to formal loans and who otherwise would have to resort to informal channels where we know they get exposed to prohibitive, abusive rates, even harassment from collection, right? So that's the space we want to be of positive impact in. And most importantly, through that G-score, we're able to remove the friction that's otherwise associated with formal lending. Includes collateral, so we eliminate that, no collateral, no additional documents, and basically in an instant. And we're able to do that at scale and able to help more MSMEs borrow to expand their business, but more importantly, do so with dignity.
Alternative credit models and alternative scores and frameworks are really becoming, the thing to solve for some of these issues. As you've put this out into the market, are you able to sort of support more new-to-credit customers, or is it only for scale capital?
Yeah, so we're able to tailor fit the product according to the MSME's needs. So if you look at the product portfolio we have for MSMEs, it can be a loan as low as $200 for 2 weeks to around $2,000 for bigger capital investments, or even higher than that. And so we're able to tweak the product offer, the credit limit, the tenor, et cetera, at scale because of the G-score we're able to create internally.
Terrific. Joey, you've been a household name in the Philippines in terms of just championing micro and small businesses. I know of your partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry. It's a pretty phenomenal one in terms of just being able to scale. What sort of advice would you have for public-private sector actors in the room and for us on this panel in terms of how we should think about partnering more?
Well, in the Philippines, we do have extreme poverty. Unfortunately, the latest issue in the Philippines was all of these legislators really trying to find a way, all these ghost projects. Things like this really kind of bring down the motivation of many of our Filipino people. And what's really important is bulk of our MSMEs are at the bottom, and these are the people that we really have to scale up. For the Philippine economy to really grow, unless you scale up your micro and small entrepreneurs to become medium and large one day, the Philippines will never progress. And for the past 20 years, that has been our mantra, to really try to scale them up. And under the leadership of President Marcos, he has really supported the efforts of the private sector to help. And how do we do this? No? We are in the malls on weekend, and this is where all our micro, small, and medium enterprises are set up, because the malls are a venue for them to sell their products as a marketplace. And what we do is, together with the business chambers in the Philippines, whether it's the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, the Philippine Indian Commerce, etc., close to about 45 organizations are supporting this effort. So it is a united effort to help upskill them, which is very important. You can't start a business without determining what your skill is. And of course, the support of the banks and the microfinance institutions. So, one, Filipinos at that bottom of the pyramid are losing hope. We are bringing hope. And when you see, by the way, the ones who supply all the malls are the big businesses, whether it's SM, Robinson, et cetera, and these people wait in line for hours. They come in at midnight, sleeping on the floor, just waiting for their turn to be mentored by a top entrepreneur. And to me, this is the best impact that I've seen, because people get encouraged. And over the last 20 years, we continue to grow. And what is good is big business come in, not just to give money, but to actually mentor. So not every country in ASEAN is lucky, like Singapore, okay? So we have these challenges, but unless we scale them up, the economy will not prosper. So under this leadership of President Marcos, I'm very confident that we will be able to scale up our MSMEs, provide them the necessary tools in marketing and distribution and all of that. And I believe that ASEAN, for that matter, and I've asked many of our ASEAN colleagues to come to the Philippines and actually mentor. And they did, just to be able to experience it. So prosperity for all is our mantra.
I think, you're also very uniquely positioned, just given the many hats you wear, to be able to have that influence to bring both the public and private sector together, to have more corporations lean in. So in that regard, I think your success sets a template for replicating, and really an ask for those from the private sector in the room to engage more in models like these, right? So that's really terrific. And I think you made another point, which Shuyin, you touched on, is that unless we solve for this, the health of our economy, you spoke very specifically about the Philippines, but I think it's true of all of Southeast Asia, is the health of the economy is in question. We're not going to solve that problem unless we solve for micro and small businesses. With that, I'd like to take a pause, and I am thrilled to invite on stage Shafarina Shari, a young entrepreneur here in Malaysia, to share about her story. Shafarina.
Great to be here, Shobha. AtasSkin is not just a brand, it's a shared dream by an aesthetician, a pharmacist, and me, a microbiologist. We put our savings and created our first product, AtasSkin Dreamy Dew Sunscreen. With our combined expertise, we created the product. We perfected the formulation and created it in Korea, where skincare advance meets meticulous research and development. We always wanted Skin to be a brand that stands for inclusivity and science-backed results. We wanted to create skincare that empower people to feel seen, confident, and be very comfortable in their own skin. So we launched our product through aesthetic clinics and also through digital platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and Shopee. This is because we chose trust over hype. And to build trust is not through digital glossy ads, but to one happy customer at a time. When funds get tight, we did not give up. What we do, we turn to the ones that trust us the most, our customers. Okay? So what we do, we offer them short-term investment opportunity and allow them to be part of our growth story. After all, Skin is a community. It's not just a brand. Truth to be told, small business like us, the path is quite difficult. Many financial institutions or funding programs require at least a minimum 6 months of financial records, at least to consider your application. Entrepreneurs in the audience would know that 6 months is just the beginning. As today, I'm standing here not just for Skin, okay, but for all small business owners that dare to dream big despite the limited resources. Fast forward now, 14 months later, after our first product launch, our community is growing stronger. There are customers, returning customers, leaving heartfelt reviews of how this product has changed their skin and also their confidence level. We have organized community-based wellness workshop to share with our customers about skin and also wellness. We also collaborate with amazing local brands, okay, raising awareness on Malaysian brands that are built on integrity and also quality. Our journey has been both truly humbling and inspiring. Moving forward, we would like to create product that is truly catered to our customers and not just based on the hype. After all, Skin strives to be a brand that listens to their customers, then create with purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Shafarina. I think Shafarina's journey is quite reflective of that of so many entrepreneurs, if not all, right? And so I'd like to sort of take a leaf from that and look a little bit more deeply in this next round of discussion with you at what more we can do to unlock access. We've talked a lot about the barriers, but what more can we do? And Tony, I'm looking at you. Really, beyond lending, what kind of partnerships do we need to strengthen the ecosystem for small businesses?
I think one of the ways we collectively can help MSMEs thrive and grow is to bring them into the digital economy. And particularly in the case of GCash, our goal is to help them in the digital payment space. But critical to that, first off, is being able to identify them as small businesses. Not surprisingly, based on our observation, especially small businesses starting up, they tend to use the same wallet for personal and business, and goes without saying that's not ideal, right, for the business. And so we've set up a self-service portal called GCash for Business. It's quite intuitive. Small businesses can register themselves, and once we're able to identify them as legitimate merchants, we're able to give them higher limits, even waive certain fees to really help them grow the business. Now, enabling is one. I think more critical, though, and the more important step is the next step, which is empowering them. How do we now help them thrive using the other aspects of the digital space? So, for instance, in GCash, we're now able to offer, say, insurance for as low as $10 premium for the year to protect their businesses from burglary, from fire, from theft. Or we have ad tech solutions tailor-fit for MSMEs where we can help them launch ads that are specific to certain geographies or certain segments within their target market. We have payment devices. Recently we launched GCash International, so for bigger businesses with partners abroad, they can conveniently pay and pay their partners conveniently within the app. No? So it's really that ecosystem that we want to build. Now, the other part of the question I recall was on partnerships. So we're talking about what's in the app. I think it's also important to note, and certainly for us, this is our belief, that no one organization can do that. And so Mr. Concepcion is here. We actively support Go Negosyo. We believe in the mission, but also quite proud of the partnership we have upcoming with ADB and with Mastercard, where there's a joint objective of really empowering women-led MSMEs and MSMEs in provinces in the Philippines with high levels of poverty. And so we're quite excited with that. And so I think it's this collaboration that will help move the needle for MSMEs in the Philippines.
We're very excited about that too. That announcement comes out later today, so really looking forward to partnering with you on that. But one of the things that I'm taking away from what I heard from you is that internal and external partnership, right? So from Fuse with GCAS, you've sort of built out the ecosystem yourself, so we just need to get on with it and build the solutions we can and do that. And then we build partnerships on top of that. So that's an important point to take away. Shuyin, I'm looking at you now, and we're going to get a little bit deeper and a little more technical in terms of just looking at the capital stack, right? There's traditional debt and equity structures that often overlook small and growing businesses. And so I'm really, especially women, and so I'm looking at you to say from your vantage point at the Beacon Fund, what do you think should be the new design of product and ways of deployment that we should be thinking about as we address this gap?
Thanks. I'm really glad to be here and representing kind of the fund manager or the investor perspective. And I can share, I think, one of my biggest learnings over my 15 years investing in the ASEAN region. And that is that actually the traditional venture capital and private equity model doesn't really work, right, for investing in SMEs and investing in this missing middle that we're talking about. I'm sure, as we all know here, the logic of venture capital and private equity, or the playbook of venture capital and private equity, is to invest in a company, really support its growth, right, increase the valuation, raise quite a lot of capital over time, and ultimately drive towards an exit, right? That could be an IPO, that could be an acquisition. Within a pretty short time frame, sometimes just 3, 5, 7 years. And I think what we've realized is that firstly, that actually might not be what many business owners in the region are looking for, right? Many of them, as I said, want to keep on running their businesses over over many years, many generations even, right? So that focus on an exit might not be what they're looking for. Secondly, if we're really honest with ourselves as fund managers, I think there haven't actually been that many successful exits in the ASEAN region. In terms of, they haven't been as large as we had hoped, right, in terms of financial outcomes. And they've also taken longer than expected. And I certainly don't mean to say here that, investing in ASEAN is not an exciting opportunity. Actually, I think it's the most exciting opportunity that there is. But all I'm saying is that, as fund managers and investors, we really need to challenge ourselves to think a little bit differently about how can we localize our fund structures and models to meet what the market really needs, right, and the realities of SME businesses on the ground here. And I think maybe I can give you 2 examples of the ways that we're doing it at Beacon Fund. These certainly aren't the only ways. But I think number 1 is we actually shifted towards a private credit model or private debt model. So not the traditional kind of equity model. And because, again, we realized many businesses aren't focused on an exit. But at the same time, as a fund, we can be a lot more flexible and bespoke and tailored and personalized than what a bank or fintech can offer. I think the second thing that we've done is we've actually structured our fund as an open-ended or evergreen fund. And that actually means that we're really here for the long term, right? Most funds wrap up in 10 years, as you might know. But actually, that seems a bit artificial to us, right? How can we bring truly patient capital, long-term capital to this region? Because I think, in our opinion, that's kind of one of the big missing gaps that we see in the capital stack today.
Very nice. So sort of, from Fuse's $200 to $2,000 to look at more small and growing businesses, a much more tailored solution is what we need. And I want to swing the lens and looking at you, Joey, in terms of just where a lot of Go Negosyo's work has been, right? Like in terms of really with micro and building them up and with small businesses. And you've famous in the Philippines for saying SMEs need more than money. They need mentoring. They need wraparound services. So I'd love for you to sort of share a little bit of your insight over 20 years of work in terms of what you've seen there, and maybe one inspiring story of someone who's an alum of Go Negosyo, who's come out and graduated.
Through the past 20 years, I mean, we in big business were somehow shielded to many things in life. We're fortunate to have, the blessings of a home and all of that. And in certain countries like the Philippines, and of course some other ASEAN countries who are, of course Malaysia is an exception. It's like up in heaven. But when you're when you're in the Philippines and you see people in the street, selling sampagita, this is a bunch of flowers, anything they can sell, and you really feel so touched by it. So there's a lot of people who are like this, and I guess this is what ASEAN is all about. I've been part of this organization for many years, and I've been mentored by many of the ABAC as well. But the key really here is how do we make ASEAN, its citizens, wealthier. There are countries like Singapore, Indonesia, and all of that, but there's still a lot of poor countries. And this is where I believe with my colleagues in the ASEAN Business Advisory Council is to help those at the bottom of the pyramid. Because the moment you help them and scale them up, the economy of each respective country will continue to grow. And I call that the circle of prosperity. For those who have done well, especially in this room, payback is giving back to these people. Whether you help an entrepreneur out there or whether you start your own organization to focus on MSMEs. My father was part of ASEAN many years ago. They called him in the Philippines Mr. ASEAN. And I ended up doing the same thing he did. I never wanted to be in platforms like this. But then again, you get inspired by your mentor, which is your parents. No? So today in the Philippines, not only do we mentor thousands of people in all over the Philippines, and we are able to do that because the business organizations, the chambers of commerce, all of them are supportive all over the Philippines. The key success here is providing mentorship, access to market, and basically access to the most challenging thing, which is money. But they will never be able to borrow from a bank if they're not viable. So you have to make them viable. And how do you make them viable? You teach them, you mentor them, you guide them through. And in the end, us in big business, we can't take all of our wealth up there in heaven. It's impossible. But the wealth is a different kind of wealth when you help people. And in my own experience, I see a lot of these people, when you talk to them, they cry. So you can see maybe in Malaysia you don't see much of that. In the Philippines you see a lot of it. But this is the only way we can help our country grow. And this is what I've been telling my colleagues in the ASEAN Business Advisory Council. Keith Meng of Cambodia was here and Tan Sri Munir was here. And, not all ASEAN countries are as rich as you guys in Malaysia. So big business, big countries who are able to have enough should share with the smaller countries who have less. And this has been my passion for the last 20 years. And I've been motivated because my father spent his time in helping people, became trade secretary, and today I'm not with the Department of Trade and Industry, but we work very closely with the entire machinery of government. Private sector cannot do it alone. You have to partner with your government. So the DTI and Go Negosyo is well intact. We use their entire machinery because they're all over. That organization is powerful. So Public-private partnership can definitely solve problems like this, but it is not an overnight solution. It will take many years. So in this past 20 years, I could say that we've really gained a lot of progress in helping many of these MSMEs scale up.
We can continue this conversation for the rest of the day, but what an inspiring and important message on which to conclude. A huge thank you to our distinguished panel for being here with me in this important conversation. Thank you so much.